Greetings, glory to God in the highest, and on earth, peace to people of good will. This morning, while I was in a meeting at work, I had my headphones in and was listening to the latest live from Berean TV. And during that time, Berean played a video from Bart Ehrman in which Ehrman laid out the standard argument that Christology developed in the New Testament from a low Christology in the Synoptics to a high Christology in John. And this alleged evolution in Christology was presented as an argument against Jesus being God, much less him, affirming his divinity. So while listening to that, I was inspired to step out of my meeting briefly so I could jump on Berean's Live really quickly to present a quick 4-minute rebuttal of sorts, and it's a rebuttal that works within the paradigm of the secular critical scholarship of Ehrman's world. And so I'd like to replay my brief contribution to Berean's Live here. And I'm going to show about 6.5 minutes of footage from that live. And of course, I'll link to the full video in the description. Now, the first 2.5 minutes will be of Berean playing the portion from Ehrman, which is what inspired me to jump on. And then the last 4 minutes will be my response. I'll also add a few graphics on the screen for the sake of clarification of certain points. Now, I should note that some of the ground covered here was also covered in my video from 2019 titled RT and the Gospels, which I'll also link to in the description. But whatever the case, without any further ado, let's jump right in. So here's the clip. Enjoy. Feel free to share your thoughts, and God bless.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, Q, M, and L. Okay, all of that together. Jesus never calls himself God. All of our earliest sources. Where Jesus starts calling himself God is the Gospel of John, yes, our last source. And so, to my thinking.
Now, come on. Now, with Tony Osborne in here? Who else in here? You heard what he just said, right? You heard what he just said to y'all? You can't let this stuff go. I don't care who it's coming from. Now, if he's right, he's right. If he's picking and handling the text a certain type of way, you got to be able to peep it, and you got to be able to peep it fast. Mac been doing this for a minute, so he'll get on here and he can do it in between routes on the truck and, fast paced and all that. He, everybody, it takes time to get up to that. But that Rolodex need to be going. You'd be like, some people just be like, I feel a red light in my spirit. I don't know how they articulate it, but this don't sound right.
You have these sources of information about Jesus. So I've just laid out six sources, 6 pieces of information versus 1. The 6 are all earlier.
Come on, Rechurch. Oh, he's gonna bring that up. Oh, that's a problem. He think he got medicine for y'all. He gonna bring that up.
Than the 1. It seems to me completely implausible that 6 authors would describe the sayings of Jesus knowing that he's called himself God and neglect to mention that part. Like that bit just isn't important enough to bring up. And so I think it's completely implausible.
By the way, I should mention that you have an entire course on this very question of did Jesus claim to be God, which is available on your website. The link you can go to is bartehrman.com/godman. And that will take you to this course that you've produced on this very question, amongst a sort of wealth of other courses that you've produced. So if anybody's interested in going into more detail on this question.
BartEhrman.com, God and man. Listen to what Seminary Cove's saying. We're all the people that are saying we've been talking about and knowing this to answer these questions. I wish I had the pastor on here right now. Keep it a buck. Folk notice and folk ain't want to bring it out. Seems like it could be some problems. Bart been around for a while. Them German scholars been talking for a good 80 years now. Folk been in seminary 30 years ago, 50 years ago. Go ahead, Abu.
You can hear me okay?
Yeah. Go ahead. Sound like you sneaking whispering in the office.
Yeah, I literally sneaked out of a meeting. So forgive me if I'm in a whisper, and I'm only going to be on for a short bit. I just wanted to say that what inspired me to jump on was him saying that, I find it hard to believe that Jesus would claim to be God, and yet it isn't listed in specifically these sources, Mark, the hypothetical Q source, the Synoptic Gospels, basically. What I would say is this was dealt with brilliantly by a Greek Orthodox scholar named John Romanides.
He said Greek Orthodox, y'all. Keep going.
Greek Orthodox scholar. Hold on, bear with me 1 second. It was a Greek Orthodox scholar named Forgive me. Hold on 1 second. Let me just grab this real quick. Okay. Yeah, John Romanides. He has an interesting book titled "The Ancestral Sin," and it's actually a critique of Roman Catholic doctrine on, and by extension, also for Protestants who believe in
ancestral sin.
Yeah, it's a book. So, but he had a great point that he raised, and I think, and I have an old video on this. But what he proposed is that the different gospels were initially for different stages of catechesis. So John has the deeper mysteries that
the highest level. Wait a minute, do y'all understand what he said, catechesis and catechism and what that is? If not, explain that real quick if you have time.
So yeah, catechesis is basically the process of teaching you the faith. And so he argued that an early catechumen, someone who's starting to learn about the faith to join it, would not be given the mysteries straight out. And it's funny because it's not funny, but there is Ante-Nicene texts that talk about that, to not parade the mysteries before catechumens, much less pagans, because they'll be scandalized. And so he proposed that the synoptics represent an early stage in the learning process. And then when you were mature enough, then they showed you what's in John.
Mysteries. Come on.
Now check this out. The critics would say, oh, that's just something that Romanides made up. That's just some guesswork, speculation. But
wasn't it like that with the Didache or something? I'm trying to remember.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The very same scholars, secular scholars, including Bart Ehrman, they would say that the quote unquote authentic Pauline scriptures like Philippians, like Colossians, but especially Philippians, predate the synoptics. Now, it can be argued that the Christology in the Pauline epistles is as high as the Christology in the Gospel of John, which would mean that even on the secular timeline for the alleged unfolding of the New Testament, the sort of high Christology of John existed before the writing of the synoptics. And if that's the case, that would mean that it is plausible that these beliefs existed before the writings of the synoptics, and the synoptic authors simply decided not to be explicit with them. And that's the whole thing. And so forgive me for whispering. I see lyrically outspoken, Sid, but that's the key point, that saying, I find it hard to believe that if Jesus said he was God, the synoptics wouldn't include it. But Bart Ehrman elsewhere will concede that Paul had a very high Christology, as high as John, and predated the synoptics. Exactly. So that means that high Christology did not evolve after the synoptics. It existed before the synoptics. And that's what made John Romanides' objection plausible, which is that the different gospels represent different stages of catechesis, different concerns about catechesis. So they were initially intended for different audiences at different levels of learning. And with that, I hope you'll forgive me if I jump off abruptly.
Thank you. No problem, man. I really appreciate it. I'm glad he said that. Thank you, Abu. Thank you. I appreciate you, you Jesuit. I'm still watching you.